Hello peeps, welcome back to Big Deck Playa with me, Matt Sparks. On today's video, we are taking a look at a hunter deck, and it's not a face hunter, which, you know, is quite good, because almost every hunter deck that I come across recently has been a face hunter. So let's take a look. So as you can see, I've called this Knight's Hunter. It's on hearthstone.com. There'll be a link in the description so you can go check it out for yourself. Starts off, we have one Hunter's Mark. Pretty useful for anything big that your opponent plays. There's no big game hunter, so this is like an alternative, I suppose, and it doesn't cost you any mana. We have two Abusive Sergeants. Now you might be saying, I thought you said this wasn't a face hunter. It's not. There's not a huge amount of kind of rush or charge minions, but there is Abusive Sergeant. Abusive Sergeant's good because it allows you to make better value trades. We have two Web Spinners, because Web Spinners can be pretty awesome. The last two games I've played with this, I got Core Hounds, which aren't great, but you know, they're not too bad. But I've had Garzrilla, and I've had Malorn, and I've had King Crush, so they can be pretty useful. We have two Freezing Traps. I like to use Freezing Traps just as something's getting buffed. There's nothing quite as satisfying as seeing a Northshire Cleric that's been buffed with a Velen's Chosen and maybe even a Power Word Shield, only for it to then be put back to the hand and those buffs get removed. That's pretty nice when that sort of thing happens. We have two Quick Shots, which deals 3 damage. And if your hand is empty, you get to draw a card. Now, I have very rarely got the draw a card off of these. Doesn't happen very often, and it is pretty much your prime source of card draw in this deck. There is a little bit later on, but it's not even really worth mentioning. It's good early game if you manage to put out a whole bunch of stuff fairly early, but more often than not, I find that the way that Hearthstone works and its card draw mechanics means that yeah, you don't get this early enough quite often. Or if you do, most of the other things in your hand are quite expensive, so you don't get to empty your hand. Still, the 3 damage is quite nice, and you can use it on minions or you can go face with it, so it is quite versatile in that respect. We have 2 Snipes. Now you might be thinking, why are there Snipes in this deck? Like, these are actually pretty useful, especially against stealth targets like the Shade of Naxxramas. Your opponent plays one of those and then it just gets wiped out. I like to play the Snipes, if I can, around sort of turn 3, 4, 5-ish, because you get a lot of minions around that bracket that have 4 health. So you get stuff like Azure Drake that has 4 health. Stuff like Piloted Shredders that only have 3 health. You know, Snipe's going to get rid of those sort of things. So it can be pretty useful, but as I say, turn 3, turn 4, turn 5 is probably best turn to play it. We have 2 Haunted Creepers, because we've got to have a few beasts, right? I mean, we've only got the Web Spinner so far, so we've got to have a few beasts. Haunted Creepers are pretty useful, especially when combined with like the Abusive Sergeant. Pretty nice combos there. We have 1 Silence in the form of an Ironbeak Owl, and being a beast, it means that we get a little bit of synergy with a couple of spells that we've got later on. We have 2 Mad Scientists to try and stick out your secrets a bit quicker. Freezing Traps are probably useful early game. If your opponent is having to put our stuff out and then it gets sent back to his hand, it means you're free to have stuff on the board for a bit longer, and they'll have to use other forms of removal to get rid of it. It's pretty nice, but obviously it's a bit random as to which one you get. We have 2 Eagle Hornbows, more synergy with secrets, but these are pretty good. 3 damage means early game especially you can use these to maintain your board presence. 2 Animal Companions. Sometimes you get what you need, and sometimes you don't. But them's the breaks with Hearthstone. I quite like this card. It's 3 mana, and you normally get something that's pretty good 2 kill commands. This is what I meant earlier with the synergizing with beasts. I like to have a kill command and an Iron Beak Owl in my hand fairly early in the game, if I can. Just because if your opponent plays a Sludge Belcher, it's quite nice to just Iron Beak Owl the Sludge Belcher to silence it, and then use a kill command straight afterwards to then just kill it off completely. That's a nice little combo, turn 5. A silence and then 5 damage. Pretty cool. We have 1 Kazan Mystic. I haven't had to use the Kazan Mystic that much to take control of enemy secrets. Generally, when my opponent has secrets, I don't have the Kazan Mystic in my hand, so I can't play it. But it's quite nice to have, just in case your opponent has a Kazan Mystic. Because if your opponent has a Kazan Mystic, they might think they're being all clever by stealing one of your secrets, and then you can just steal it right back again. So that's pretty cool. We also have 1 Piloted Shredder. These are pretty much a staple of most decks nowadays because they're such a good card. They've kind of replaced the Yeti as being the kind of dominant 4-cost creature. We have 1 Azure Drake. This is the other form of card draw that you get. You only get 1 Azure Drake and you only get to draw 1 card with it, so yeah, it's not great. It's not great. As long as you're playing on mana, on curve, it's not too bad, but you can run out of cards fairly quickly. We have 1 Lotheb to annoy your opponent. Making their spells cost 5 more can really cripple them, because sometimes all they have in their hand are spells, and if everything then costs 5 more, sometimes it means they can't play any of them, which is fantastic. And we also have, at 5 mana, 2 Sludge Belchers. I love Lotheb and I love the Sludge Belchers, so as soon as I saw that they were in this deck, I was like, I'm going to have to try this deck out. Sludge Belchers are awesome, probably my favourite taunt, possibly the best taunt in the game. And then finally, we have 2 Savannah Highmanes. Also, again, pretty good. 6/5 for 6 with 2 hyenas on death. Can be pretty awesome. So that's the Knights Hunter deck. As I say, I will put a link in the description so you can go and check this out for yourself. Go and give it some love. One of the main reasons I chose this deck, other than the fact that it has the Lotheb and Sludge Belchers, is the fact that it's really cheap to craft. It's 920 dust, which is not very much at all. Most people by now will probably have Naxxramas, which means they've probably already got Lotheb and the Sludge Belchers, and the Mad Scientists, and the Haunted Creepers, and the Web Spinner. So this shouldn't be too difficult to craft. And I say, 920 dust for a reasonably good Hunter deck is not too bad. I mean, when you see a lot of the other decks on Hearthstone, a lot of them are well over sort of 1500 dust to craft, so this one is pretty cool. Pretty cool indeed. So I suggest if you want to play a Hunter deck and you don't want to play Face Hunter because everyone plays a Face Hunter, then maybe give this deck a try. So, as I said before, head over to hearthstone.com, give this a thumbs up, let the creator of the deck know that you like it. Let me know how you get on using this deck. If you make any videos, feel free to link them to me on my Twitter and I'll be sure to come check them out. If you have any suggestions for future decks that I should check out for upcoming episodes of Big Deck Playa, again, feel free to link them to me and I will check them out. Otherwise, I will see you next week for some more Big Deck Playa. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.